My challenge today is I have 1 hour to rebuild Excalidraw. Now, I'm going to tell you why and how I'm going to go about it. But the first thing we need is a name. Naming is hard. Naming is fun. And it doesn't have to stick. And it doesn't have to be the thing that if this is amazing and we stay with it, that is attached to it forever. But we got to name it. So let's name it. I'm building an Excalidraw replacement and I need a project code name for it. Give me 24 ideas that I could also potentially use if this project lasts long term. This is the next Excalibur, is it? Oh, God. Speech to text is not perfect. The app is called Excalidraw. Sorry. Try again, please. I like saying please. Maybe it'll do a good job. All right, here we go. Slake, tabula, vellum, parchment, easel, lascaux? How do you say that? Lascax, lascaux, cartouche, Pendragon. I don't know King Arthur stuff. Let's figure this out. Okay. Chief of Warriors or Head Dragon? Yeah, I'm totally sold. Let's do it. All right, Pendragon. Here we go. So I like to make the directory first, jump in here, and then install the Netlify skills, because that's what we're going to work with. All right, we'll reload. And now if I were really going to go super deep on this project and expect to take it for a while, now I'm not saying that is the case here. I'm saying if there was something that was overly complex that I really wanted to dig into, that probably what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a walk and talk. I'm going to have probably several sessions that I'll be talking to my phone and have transcriptions, and it'll be somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes worth of transcription content. But we only have 60 minutes to go from nothing to something. And so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to kind of talk through, hopefully Whisperflow will work this time, but I'm going to talk through the problem that I'm aiming to solve. Because this was a real hurdle that I came up against last week, and it really annoyed me. And the idea that sparked this particular challenge was the classic question, how hard would it be? And yes, how hard would it be to rebuild Excalidraw? Obviously, there's a lot going on under the hood, and there's a lot of value in that particular tool. And I'm not suggesting that everybody should go dump every SaaS app that they are using, but I came up against some friction. I'm going to talk it out, and we're going to see what happens. I'm looking to rebuild Excalidraw. Basically, stand up an Excalidraw replacement. It's called Pendragon. That's the directory that you're in. It is currently empty other than Netlify skills, which you can rely on because we are going to build and deploy for Netlify and on Netlify. The reason I want to rebuild Excalidraw is because I've run up against a few limitations that I think really warrant exploring what another option may be. Now, I think the canvas and the drawing features are core, and that's absolutely what we need. But what I have found is that one of the most valuable features is being able to create and adjust drawings through the MCP server. So it's really, at the end of the day, it's all code and config that drives the drawing tool on the canvas. And I want to come up with what's an MVP that can essentially enable the happy path is I want to work with an agent that taps into this API that results in a drawing. Eventually, I would love drawing tools. I don't think we need to solve that for this particular case. Because if we can do that, right now you need to have a pro account to be able to use the MCP server. And I just want my team, my coworkers, my community to be able to draw with a really flexible application without the need to have a paid account. So this could go a lot of different directions. What I want you to do is start to grill me. Ask me everything that you are going to need to know to have 95% confidence that you can build out the MVP without my input. Okay, there's my initial prompt. And while that's running, I'm going to get these questions back, but I'm going to put something in here, and I need to figure out a better way to do this long term. But I'm going to write in here, I say, and also set this project up to with permissions that you'll likely need, particularly read-only permissions. I don't want to be constantly approving safe actions and CLI commands. The other thing I'll say here is, and when the time comes, I'll get this all wired up to Netlify. Can help. I'll tell you where you can help, but we're going to rely on Git integration and Git flows, such as pushing to main, kick off a new production build, or opening a pull request will kick off a deploy preview. That means that you do not have to test locally unless it's super fast and will save us from simple things and failed builds. So I'm going to queue this up here and actually say like, so I'm doing that so that we can be able to move quickly while this thing right now is going to come up with these questions. Okay, what is the primary way a person draws with an agent in Pendragon for the MVP? My philosophy is I always do the type something unless it is very obvious what the answer is. And I'm going to say, let's go with API plus MCP for the MVP. We use Netlify identity. Users and tie API keys to each individual user. This is going to be an interesting and powerful point. App UI. Otherwise, the app UI can be read only, and we'll add drawing tools as a fast follow. Who can view, own, and edit drawings, and how does the agent get authorized to write? Okay, so see previous answer for authorization. Let's allow every drawing to be toggled between public, private, unlisted. This is an API and MCP action, and it defaults to private for now. Should the canvas update live as the agent draws, or is reload to see changes fine? And we're gonna keep it simple, and I think this is gonna be a lot simpler. Reloading for changes is fine. I think the API would respond with a link back to the drawing so that an agent could point its user to the prepped drawing. The other thing I'll note here is that, this also implies that we need a strong agent experience, which, probably means a skill or documentation or something like that. Yeah, I'm gonna say let's go with database for the content and configuration storage. But one thing I think would be interesting, let's see if we can get it in. Why don't we add the ability to export as PNG, and we can store those files. Store and serve those files as blobs. All right, there we go. For identity, let's use Google OAuth only, and I'll lock it down so that it's invite only. I like to do this because it enables me to put in place this foundation that I can expand on, but I can use the MVP and treat it like it's a single user application. So I'm the primary user. I can test this out. I can really hammer on it. And then when I'm ready to invite other people, I don't have a bunch of work to do. I just take the registration lockdown off, and then we're good to go. You know what else I'm going to do? While we're here, I'm going to install the front-end design plugin just so it looks good. Or, decent. Alrighty, next round of questions here. What format do the API and MCP accept for drawing? And I'll say JSON is the way to go. The way I would approach this is if Excalidraw uses some industry standard for schema, use that. If not, we can design our own. Okay, and now it wants to know how to adjust an existing drawing, either replacing everything. This is dead simple and deterministic. It's token heavy for large drawings, and the last write wins on concurrent edits. Recommend that for MVP, and I do agree with that because we're just testing that there's something here that we can get off the ground. So let's do it. Okay, and then here it's saying when and how is the PNG export generated, and ultimately we get down here to deferring, which says keeps the MVP tightest and de-risks the one genuinely fiddly piece. I think this is an underestimation on how easy this actually is to build, but we're limited on time. We're about halfway through, so we're going to defer that. And then how are drawings organized for the MVP, flat list per user. Again, we'll keep that super simple. Here we go. Let's see if it's ready now or if it needs another round. Okay, it wants to know what we're going to allow for auth methods, and we're going to just say MCP auth through these, what can be a text-based configuration, essentially, and REST. That seems fine. In the MVP, what's the real difference between a public and an unlisted drawing? Yeah, let's simplify this. We're just going to say public equals unlisted. Sure. All right, we're ready to build. and say, yes, let's build. I'll handle all the plumbing. Install what you need. Make small, regular commits. And I'll be ready for production deploy when you've built the MVP out. Yahoo! And now we're just going to let it run and do its thing locally. And I'll do all the plumbing and wiring of everything up once it is done with the build. That way we can see it all happen at one time versus trying to deploy a site where there's no code in it yet. Checking back in, I am about at the 55-minute mark, and this thing is still cooking. It is really thinking. It's been rolling. I've been kind of just keeping it off to the side. I've gotten prompted a few times about permissions, but each one has been a bit unique and meaningful. And so it's been a good process and a good experience so far. It's just doing a lot of work, and I also have other things happening. It's peak time for Claude. Excuse. It's taking a while. We're going to extend the time period a little bit because I want to see what we can actually do. And so it's not all just one shot. That's not how I operate. I feel like I want to see it, and then I want to give it at least one iteration, and then we'll go from there, assuming it actually finishes before I have to go home. Alrighty, our initial build is done, so we can go through the wiring up of everything and see if it actually works. Now, I was looking at the output here, and something caught my attention, and it's that the canvas we're using is the Excalidraw package. I don't know. I have questions, and I'm going to ask that. First, let's create a repo that it can work with. Now, I could tell Claude to do this for me. I just want to make sure that it goes to the right account. I don't want to mess with it right now, so I'm going to create it in my account. We'll keep it private for now, and then create the repository. And then what I'll do is I'll just copy that URL, come back here and say, have a repo, please push. And then I'm also going to say, out of curiosity, what is Excalidraw, and why did you use it for this project? I could guess at the answer, and I'm really curious. Okay, Claude did a weird thing with GitHub, messed up the authentication, so I'm just going to manually push this if I can type. Here's my code. Cool. Let's go over to Netlify and create a new project. Search for pen. There it is. We'll call it Pendragon. Oh, it's not available. How about Pendragon-app? Sure. Makes me, wait a minute. I have to know. Oh, documentation guide. It's not even a fun drawing tool. Okay, let's deploy it. All right, and now I'm going to get the site ID, and then we'll just do this simply, even though I could have Claude do this. Dang it. Bingo. All right, we're back here. Okay, now I want to read the output here of my question. Okay, my styling got messed up, but basically, Excalidraw/Excalidraw is the official open source React component published by the Excalidraw team. The actual Excalidraw editor, packaged as an embeddable MIT license NPM package. You drop the component into a React app and you get the whole thing. The canvas, the shape drawing tool, the selection style. I had no idea about this. it's the right foundation because it is Excalidraw. Canvas and the drawing features are the core, and we don't want to rebuild them. Embedding the official component gives the pixel faithful Excalidraw canvas for free instead of writing a drawing engine. All right, so I think that's totally fair, and that's a totally reasonable assumption. I think that honestly, if I were really looking to drive deep on this, and I might just out of curiosity, I don't know that I would go with this component. And the reason for that is because it's not because Excalidraw is great or isn't great. It is. It works really well. It's been refined over many, many years. I've used it, in several jobs now. And this is free, it's open source, the data model lines up perfectly. Okay, the fast follow is cheap, the React fit. Those are all absolutely valid points. They are absolutely valid points. I think when you choose a tool, any tool, you're limited to the ecosystem around that tool. And so in this case, yes, maybe the schema is right. Maybe the schema is not right based on what we want to do. And so I actually think that Claude made a pretty significant oversight here, not necessarily in this decision, but in the omission when it came to asking me about that decision. Because I even hinted at one point, like, why are you using the Excalidraw schema? If you need it, sure, but we don't have to rely on that if there's a simpler solution. And that should have, in my mind, that should have been a flag to step back and say, well, what are you expecting? And what are you looking for? And what are you trying to solve? Because one of my main arguments about building over buying is that you can build exactly what you need. And again, it's not that these drawing tools are bad, but maybe it's really not the style we want. Like maybe the thing we want to build doesn't have so much flexibility. Maybe the thing we want to build is more regimented, it's more stylistic, it's right? It's designed for, like, let's say it's something I wanted to build as an internal tool at Netlify. Maybe I want to build it so that the styles are very consistent. And it doesn't mean that I can't build that on top of Excalidraw, but it also doesn't mean that building on Excalidraw is the obvious answer either. I think we have to be very mindful when we're choosing to build that we choose the right things to build with in the process as well. Now, we've created the site on Netlify. Everything except identity should be ready to go. So let's go do that and enable it now, because our database should already be ready to go. We're going to enable identity, and then we'll come down and we're going to invite only. And then I'll remove registration just because it's invite only. And then we're going to add Google. Use the default configuration. And then I'll come up here. I'll invite users. This is me. All right. And then let's see what we've got. We're going to continue with Google. All right. So I can sign in. I need to create an API key. Usually what I like to do in these scenarios is I come back to Claude here and I say, we're live. Tell me the process, happy path for testing this with an agent. All right, so let's create an API key. We're just going to say test, and let me zoom in. I'll show it to you because I'm going to delete this thing here real quick. All right, and then I've got my steps over here. So I can say, we're going to say Claude MCP add transport HTTP Pendragon. And then it is this. and then header and authorization bearer, and we'll paste my, whoop. Ah! My key. Right. I'm going to copy this thing. What I'll do is I'm going to then just go back in and my MCP servers should be reloaded. So I should be able to say, here, let's clean up the styling here. Whoops. Ah. Okay. Oh, give me the link. All right, now let's see what it does for me. Okay, cool. It says it created it. Let's double check that. Okay, drum roll. Oh, amazing. Amazing. It worked. That's so cool. I honestly was not sure if this was going to work. That was awesome. All right, let's try the suggestion. Set that drawing to unlisted. All right, it doesn't look like we can tell from here. But there we go. Now it's unlisted. Holy smokes, that was amazing. Okay, so I know we're coming up and we've blown past 90 minutes actually at this point. We're right around 90 minutes. Most of that time, of course, was idle human time where we were engaged for a little bit and it was mostly Claude doing the Claude thing while I was off doing other things. But amazingly, this totally worked. Now, it went a very different direction than I thought it would go, and I was really hoping that it would attempt to actually build the canvas and the drawing tools and all of that. And honestly, I kind of want to do that as a follow-up challenge, but I think it's really cool that we've got this here and that there's a lot that we can do even within the concept of this particular application. So I don't know. I might take it. I might decide to do something else with it. But it worked, right? We've got something there. It worked. We can iterate. It was a lot of fun. I love when we can call these challenges a success, even when we call them 1 hour challenges. Well, it didn't take 2 hours, I guess, right? I don't know. But one of the cool things, last cool thing that I want to point out to you is that, okay, so yes, we leaned on Excalidraw a lot in that particular case. One of the things we didn't talk about is how simple it was to add that MCP server and the authentication and the dynamic data to that application. And so I didn't have to really do anything else. We just said, hey, I want to tie API keys to individual users. I want users to only be able to use Google OAuth and it's invite only. And it just worked. That was amazing. And now we got to do more work if we wanted an official Claude connector, Codex plugin, or whatever the various providers call them. But from this simple version, we're up, we're running, we're doing exactly what I've wanted to do with Excalidraw Pro, and we didn't have to pay for it. I mean, we had to pay for the tokens and lots of other things, but we didn't have to pay for a subscription to a service to be able to bring these drawings to life. Now, again, caveat, because we're using an open source tool that was generated by an organization that makes money because people do pay them to use that thing. So there's a trade-off. We need to consider all of these things as we build things. But I've talked enough. Challenge accepted, challenge successful. That's it. My name is Sean C. Davis. I appreciate you all watching. See you for the next challenge.